name's Faith, or Fabulous Faith is my trade name, and today I'm going to be making some of my budget-friendly, gluten-free pasta recipes. So the first recipe I'm going to be making is called a pasta Puttanesca. Does anybody know what Puttanesca means? No? Okay, I'll give you a free box of pasta. Does anybody know for this prize? Okay, great. That's perfect. It's pardon?
Puttanesca was a prostitute.
Okay, so since she's cursing, and it wasn't me who started that off, I think we can get that. Or the other proper name, which people have kind of made more socially accessible, is like garbage can pasta. But obviously my pasta is going to be super delicious. And today I'm using Catelli gluten-free linguine, which is one of the easiest things if you are gluten-free, is just to buy the manufacturer pre-checked gluten-free products, and then you know that you don't have to read the label and spend 5 minutes in the store at each product because the manufacturer has done that for you. So we had a little bit of gas issues. The water's not quite ready, but I'm going to get started with the sauce. Alright, so Alright, so I've got a bunch of awesome stuff here that I picked up at Whole Foods. Wearing my Uggs, drinking Starbucks, impressing my Yogi friends because they're our show sponsor. So I just have a pinch of crushed chilies that I'm putting in a couple of tablespoons of olive oil. To that I'm going to add a clove of garlic that I'm just going to mince really small. Alright. So we're going to want to get that into there. I'm actually going to add one more clove just because you guys look like a spicy crowd and I want to make sure that this has tons of flavor. So like I said, this is budget friendly. That means this whole meal for a family of 4 would be under $5, which means you could buy a great bottle of wine like this one I got from celebrity chef David Rocco, who's over there greeting everybody and having conversations while serving up Pinot Grigio. Okay, so now I've got a couple of cloves of garlic in there and some chilies. What I'm going to wait is for that to start bubbling, but not cook too much because we don't want the garlic to get any brownness on it because it's going to make the flavor change a lot. So here I have some pitted Kalamata olives, and I'm just going to roughly chop them just so it looks better in there. The key, if you wanted to get them perfectly halved, is to put them all on a plate and then put another plate on top and then just take your knife and slice it right through if you want to get them exactly. A lot of people have OCD, like some of my girlfriends here right now. Okay, so this is starting to bubble. The test is if you can smell the garlic. Alright, that's starting to smell. So what I have here is 1 can of diced tomatoes. I'm going to add about half of that in here. And then to this we're going to add the olives. But first it needs a little bit more flavor, so I'm going to add a pinch of oregano. And I'll go with the water. A little bit of salt. And then as soon as this starts to simmer, we can get the olives in there. No go. The water is giving me trouble, unfortunately. Okay, great. So to this, what I want to add to get a little bit more of a base of flavor is some thick tomato paste. In theory, I should have done this first because it's good to get a bit of brown on there, but really it's not going to make a difference. It's just going to add like a deep tomato flavor to the sauce. And then the last things that go in there are, usually would be anchovies in a Puttanesca, but I mean anchovies have this psychological taboo, so if you have your friends coming over, they're like, no, I don't eat anchovies. Tuna, on the other hand, is super cheap. It will give you exactly the same fish flavor and then more texture and protein. So we're going to add that in there, and all of our olives, which are flying everywhere. Okay, so that's basically it for this sauce. I'm going to let it cook for a minute, move it over. And then we're going to get started on making a really, really quick and simple chicken fettuccine that's also gluten-free. Alright, so it looks tidy up a little bit. So to this pan we're gonna add, that's about 2.5 tablespoons of butter. Butter is one of the great things that you can have on a gluten-free diet because you can have as much dairy products as you want to, as they contain no gluten. Now just so that I can get the cooking temperature a little bit higher, I'm gonna add some olive oil to this pan also. This is an organic olive oil, although that doesn't make a big difference. And that's just gonna, the butter would burn if I didn't add that. That's the whole reason that I'm doing that. So now, I'm going to have a little bit of a glass of wine. So this is exactly what you guys would be doing at your houses. Okay, this sauce is boiling. Okay, so as soon as this comes up to a boil, I'm going to throw in a few caper berries, which are the buds of a flower that has tons of delicious flavor. Now we're just going to stir that in and let that simmer for a few minutes, but don't stir it too much because you don't want the tuna to shred in the sauce. Alright, now while this is going, chicken. Okay, perfect. Okay, so as soon as this pot is melted, the butter is melted in the pot, I'm going to add some boneless, skinless chicken breasts. Now these are just cut into a 2-inch dice, which is a large bite-sized piece. And now that that's all melted, I'm just... Alright, so we finally have action on the water. Not so much. I don't know. I'm going to drop the pasta now just because we only have 45 minutes. Usually you'd want to see big bubbles. This is a soft boil for our lovely Humber. Look at this. All the muscles I was missing in my career I've now found. Okay, so we're going to do 2 boxes because we're doing 2 different kinds of pasta. So this is not gluten pasta, which means that it's made with rice, white rice, brown rice, quinoa, and corn. And that blend gives you pretty much the same texture that you would get from regular pasta. If you're not celiac or gluten intolerant, don't worry about using gluten-free pasta. It's actually a myth that it's better for you. It's better if you just get some nice whole wheat pasta, some of the nice spinach pasta, something like that, because there's not as much nutrients in gluten-free products, unfortunately. So it's not something that you should take on just because you see signs everywhere saying gluten-free. Gluten-free is actually, some people actually have a disease called celiac disease, and that means that their body can't absorb the protein, which is called gluten. And so that's how come I'm making a lot of gluten-free stuff, is just because you know how peanut allergies sort of came up and everyone's like, oh, there's nut intolerance. Everybody takes nut intolerance very seriously because people have EpiPens, and you know, if they eat any peanuts, then they're automatically having a reaction. But the thing is with gluten-free is it's exactly the same thing. People have the same reactions. If somebody cooked oil, like fried chicken something, and then you go and you put some like potatoes in there, you can't have the potatoes because there was cross-contamination. So people should take gluten intolerance and celiac disease seriously. It's something that goes undiagnosed. I mean, it can be confused a lot. Like, I'm lactose intolerant, so a lot of my symptoms for when I have anything with dairy are exactly the same as people who have celiac disease. So when you go to the doctor, make sure that they give you the right tests and you figure that out now. Because there's a lot of hype, you know, saying people get mood problems, all of that kinds of stuff. I mean, if it gives you the placebo effect, that's awesome. I mean, sure, eat gluten-free stuff, but I mean, really, it's not more healthy for you. It's just celiac disease and gluten intolerance is something that people really need to be aware of. Okay, perfect. I'm not getting heat on this burner. It won't stop clicking. Alright. Nice? Yes, I should stick to the wine. The thing is, this is actually a really amazing cooking demo kitchen. Usually I have a 1-burner stove. It's just like when I cook for the rappers in the West End, exactly the same. This is a really posh setup for me. At the gluten-free show, I had 2 1-burners and a bunch of different pots. But my pots are sweet. Circulon made them to match my nails because I have this special face nail polish fancy right now. Not just my army. That's what I feel great. But yeah, so Chef D was saying something about lift and go like lifting down. I say just pray. You know, just hope nothing spills. If things spilled, so what? You have wine, you have time to clean up later. Slowest dip ever. So is anybody here gluten intolerant or celiac at all? No? Anybody know anybody who is? Yeah? You have any interesting questions about gluten?
My sister just got diagnosed with celiac disease.
Just come around and make this easier. Your sister just got diagnosed with celiac?
Yeah, celiac, so I'm trying to learn some recipes or just give her some tips. So.
Okay, well the tip, if she can do whole foods just to start, which means not buy anything in a box. So just lean meats, vegetables, that kind of stuff is the easiest because there's no guilt.
Yeah.
As you want to. It's only when you get into box things and things that have come into contact with other things that need to be considered. So yeah, she has a long journey ahead of her. There is a wonderful celiac association. I just did last month the Canadian Gluten-free Expo. And so they have like charts and all kinds of different resources you can call in. So you should tell her to get into contact with them. And then just look at the boxes. If it says gluten-free, then you're good.
She got super mad. She's Tim Hortons and stuff that's gluten-free. She got really mad very quickly. But whatever.
Yeah, well, you know, Tim Hortons is one of those people who don't step up. They don't even have soy milk for me. And like people have been allergic to milk and lactose forever, right? They just don't care. I have to pay 85 cents at Starbucks though, so I hope there's no special like gluten-free upload when they do come to the trend, right? Yeah. Now what I'm going to use to thicken the chicken fettuccine is a little bit of the water from the pasta because it has starch. And so rather than starting with this with a roux, which would be way more calories and more time consuming and full of gluten, we're going to use a little bit of the water that has rice, which is going to thicken our stuff. Okay. Just want to make sure I put for the salt. The pasta's cooking. It's coming along slowly. Okay, perfect. I'll give you a buzz. Okay, and then here I have a 1/4 cup of cream and 1/2 cup of milk. And I'm going to pour over the chicken. And then this is just some, it was frozen basil, now it's thawed. And so that's about it for this one. It takes about 10 minutes. And the cream and milk is going to steam the chicken, which is going to get that to cook. The grape tomatoes are going to burst, so it's going to kind of give it like a rosé looking sauce. And then we're just going to add the pasta directly into the pot, so that way we can get a little bit of the starch, which is going to thicken it up and make it really nice. So, that's about it. Does anybody have any questions? You can ask me about random stuff if you want. Am I large sous chef? Well, the Puttanesca sauce is done. I'm going to need serving dishes for everybody times 2. Well, for pasta, what do you recommend? If you find a good thing, I will tell your teacher to give you extra credit. All right, it's a good deal. Okay, so the linguine is coming along. And everything is perfect. Okay, great. So is everybody having a good day today?
Yeah.
I have filler time, so we can answer awesome questions.
I have a question.
Sure.
So I find that every time that I'm reheating my gluten-free anything, I live with celiac my whole life, it gets very dry and gets this very kind of like weird, almost like oaky, like shitty oaky flavor. Do you have any recommendations on how to things like pastas, breads, how to warm that up in a way that maybe isn't the microwave or maybe makes it a little
Yeah, well, I would say always skip the microwave.
Okay.
My brown friends would kill me if I used the microwave. They actually have little tiny pans and you have to heat everything up on the stovetop. You can use the oven. The oven's going to give you a better texture. And then in terms of pasta, if you toss the pasta in the sauce so that it's not just pasta, then it's going to start absorbing some of the flavor from the sauce. So that way when you reheat it, it's not going to... What specifically is it that you find?
Honestly, the biggest things are like the pizzas that I make. Any kind of like I'll make like a big like bread, just so we eat throughout the week. And by about day 2, if I'm warming it up at all, it just starts to taste like shit. And I think it's just because of the water being absorbed, probably through the microwave.
Are you storing it in an airtight container?
Yes, I am.
okay, well, I would try wrap it in plastic wrap and then put it in an airtight container if it's bread, and that will kind of hold some of the more of the moisture inside. If you're finding it's losing all of the moisture,
I am. It's just, and I don't know, I think it's just the way that I heat.
you can eat as much butter as you want, and you're tiny. You know that. I'm just saying, you can just toast it, you can grease it with the butter, and then that would add some coconut oil is great. It doesn't taste, nothing tastes as delicious as butter. I think somebody won that contest on Caesars. It wasn't me, I wasn't invited to participate. They already had Acadian people that were allowed, so. Okay. So yeah, I would say those things would definitely work. In terms, like using a small saucepan, if you can keep some of, like if it's pasta specifically, keep extra sauce on the side in addition to tossing it with it. And then when you're reheating it, toss it in the pan and then just keep flipping it. Otherwise, I would just cook, like try sweet potatoes and like whole stuff like that, because you can just like, if you take a sweet potato, shove, like take a fork, stab it a few times, stick it in the microwave 5 minutes, and then it's already cooked. And you can slice that, you can put it in a pan with a little bit of oil, use that for crisps. A lot of whole foods, more so than like, I mean, I know you want bread. Luckily, I do have an appliance sponsor named Oster, and they just came out with a new bread machine that's coming out in January, which has special discs that makes perfect bread, that's gluten-free. I don't have any right now, but if you do email me, I can get you info on this bread maker. It'll be on Costco online in January. I do know about it, but in terms of bread, like I mean, you have to bake your own.
Yes.
And then you have to store it. Like if you can stick, like make extra, put one in the freezer, and then like put it right into the toaster, because you have a gluten-free toaster, right? You know, a special one. Totally gluten-free toaster, yeah. And that would definitely be helping you out there for sure. But I mean, there's no quick, like I mean, you have to put a lot more effort into eating than everybody else. That's just the reality. So if your leftovers don't taste as good, get a good boyfriend who likes cooking like one of these guys back here, and then get them at your house, and that will help you. And then you have 2 of you guys.
I do have a second question for you, if you
Sure,
don't mind.
yeah.
I'm having a very hard time finding a whiskey that I can cook with that is good for celiacs. I've been advised by a lot of whiskey people that bourbons are kind of my direction, but I've actually like seen a reaction in my best friend and in my sister. I'm not gluten intolerant myself, I just eat it.
Okay.
And I'm just trying to find a safe whiskey that you recommend.
I don't really know. I mean, you'd have to find a whiskey that was made of rice, which would be really complicated. I don't even think that there is, not that like that's what I mean. You can go the Japanese route about it, but I haven't heard of any whiskey that is, I know there's vodka that's made of rice, it's really awesome. My girlfriend knows one that there's chocolate, all the lemongrass, like amazing different flavors, but I just don't think that there is. And then it's like a specialty drink, right? So you kind of want to go over there to the bourbon manufacturers and pressure them and be like, well, I'm gluten-free and I'm very unhappy with this. And when they know that there's a need for it, then they have to produce it.
Well, they recommended things like Bullet or Jim Beam bourbon, and I've cooked with it, but it's like I've seen people like almost die afterwards, and I know that's the only thing I've included in it that can potentially cause it. So, are there regulations within the liquor industry for gluten?
Anybody else? You guys know, are you a family? Is your daughter? No? You know other people that are gluten-free? Are you gluten-free? No? Do you feel like I'm targeting you right now? I have free gifts right here. Since I have extra pasta and you guys are friendly, take some of this Catelli gluten-free home with you. You can give that to your sister and let her know that Fabulous Faith is really awesome, and she can just send me messages and I'll give her free tips like that. No problem. Okay, so the chicken's sort of cooking. Don't worry, I'm not going to give anybody salmonella. You may be delayed 5 minutes. Oh look, and my pasta was stuck. You might be delayed 5 minutes, but you're definitely going to get properly cooked food. Okay, so the only difference with cooking gluten-free pasta and the regular is it's just like brown rice pasta or any of the other alternative pastas. The cooking time is an additional 2 minutes. But other than that, the taste is going to be just about the same. So to the chicken, I have around a small onion that I chopped up. I'm also going to add some garlic and some crushed chilies to there. You guys are okay with a little bit spicy? Yeah? Okay, great. Alright, so everything's smelling really good. And this Puttanesca is done.
It's a sensitive one, but like some recipes just have like
Faster close this.
cross-contaminated kind of. It's a,
Put half in here.
yeah.
Okay, so the last thing with the Puttanesca
My sister has to
is I got these really sweet arugula microgreens. So I'm gonna put some of those
potatoes, so you just find the potato in this spot.
in there. Oh, the water? Yeah.
And then Jose Curvo is just like pure agave.
You have to be delicate, it's rice. I'm done with all this stuff. Except for the Parmesan on this. Okay, so $5, right? For you and all of your friends to eat. That totally increases your wine budget or alcohol budget so that you can have tons of food at the same time. So that can be plated. And then if you don't mind putting a little bit of the microgreens on the top. And just like, sweet. Okay, now you guys get to eat. The best part of the presentation. This is how I win friends. Do you need help? I'm gonna pull up the plates and I'll try. I'm kind of heavy-handed. That's why I have so much Spanx on these days. Okay, great. So that can be plated. And then if you don't mind putting a little bit of the microgreens on the top. And just like, sweet. Okay, now you guys get to eat. The best part of the presentation. This is how I win friends. Now, I'm gonna pull up the plate one time. I'm kind of heavy-handed. That's why I have so much Spanx on these days.